Check.
Clean it up after the fact.
Exactly.
All right. Do you want to just start by introducing yourself? And
So, my name is Joseph Pedicini. I make a wine out in Oregon called Montebruno, and we focus on Pinot Noir. We have been producing wine in the Willamette Valley since 2003, and right from the start, we've always put our emphasis on the purest, most balanced fruit being grown in the vineyards, and then bringing that fruit into the winery and not messing around with it.
Great.
And so we don't make any additions as far as enzyme additions or nutrient additions. We don't use any cultured yeast or malolactic or anything like that. We rely just on the Saccharomyces that comes in with the fruit from the vineyard, and patience and sort of understanding. And then we also, when it comes to our post-fermentation barrel program, we like to use neutral wood. So we feel that our wines, in sort of in this process that we've put together, our wines are very expressive of the site and of the soil, and not as much of the sort of effects that a winemaker can have on the wines used with barrel selection and other different additives that they can use.
How did you initially get into natural winemaking?
Just, it was actually from, as a kid, making wine with my grandparents.
Oh, really?
And we made, I grew up here on the East Coast in New Jersey, and we grew up in a house where we had several generations sharing in the same house, and my grandparents came here from Italy, and they brought with them the traditions that they enjoyed, where each year they would make wine, and they would cure sausage, and they would have this wonderful garden and can a bunch of tomatoes and things like that. But the winemaking was always really exciting to me.
Yeah.
And they did things in a very natural way.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't add anything to the wines. They didn't add any sulfur to the wines. They made these very, very beautiful, expressive wines. Unfortunately, this was New Jersey, so that wasn't. We didn't have a vineyard in our backyard.
Yeah.
We were using fruit that came from California, and it was transported out here by a refrigerated train car.
Oh, wow.
And it was like Petit Syrah and Zinfandel and these fun grapes. And my grandmother was pretty much in charge of that process, and I was fascinated with it.
Yeah.
So in my a little bit later on in my 20s, I took some of the leftover carboys and things like that and started home brewing. And I got into making beer and tasting microbrews and things like that. And at this time, there weren't that many in the country.
Yeah.
And I thought that it would be a cool career move, so I went out to Oregon, where the microbrewing scene was really kind of flourishing at the time. And I got a job there working at Deschutes Brewery. This was, I think, 1992. And it was fun, but while I'm out there, I'm tasting some of the Pinot Noir that's being grown, and it just amazed me.
Really?
And it blew me away, and I wanted to experiment with those grapes.
Cool.
And after playing around and making some home wine with Pinot Noir grown in the valley, I started to really think about the things that my uncles and my grandparents were doing with winemaking back at home, and how I started to think of how cool it would be to taste Pinot Noir grown in the Willamette Valley that doesn't taste like new oak and doesn't have 15% alcohol, and sort of how would this taste if it was being made in the same sort of very basic, simple way that we were making wine at home back in the old days.
Yeah.
And wow.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.